Welcome to Our College Your Voices. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. Today, we're talking about something a little bit different on the podcast. I've shared that we're going to start doing some campus features, and this wasn't the first one I thought we would do, but based on timing, this is really an appropriate one to talk about. So we're going to be talking about the campus structure for our Indianapolis campus, and I think we'll probably mention our new Hamilton County campus in this structure. And then we're going to be talking about the Chancellor search for our Indianapolis service area. And so I'm really excited to have three guests with me today who are experts on this topic. And so let's meet them. And first up is your all return guest. So we'll start with President Sue Elsterman. Hi, Sue.
Hey, great to be with you, Kara.
Thank you. We're glad to have you here. And next up is Chad Bolser. Hi, Chad.
Hi, Kara. How are you?
I'm good.
I am glad to be here and glad you let me back on here.
I won't let you take over again, though.
Absolutely.
And Chad, would you remind folks what your role with the college is and specific to what we're going to talk about on the podcast today?
I am the Vice President of Strategic Operations for the Southern campuses. And so as assisting with campus chancellors throughout the southern half of the state, the Indy campus is one of those campuses. And so I help to facilitate the process.
Excellent. And last but not least is Kristen Moreland. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Moreland, and I'm a Chief Strategy Officer for the Ivy Tech Community College System. And my role in what we're going to talk about today is one of facilitator and project manager of working with Indianapolis and Hamilton County.
So I think it's really unique in community colleges, the structure that we have for our campuses and how we look at that on a annual and biannual basis. So I think, Sue, would you just start by talking about the campus structure overall? And I know some of the rest of us will jump in here.
Sure. So remember, Ivy Tech is the nation's largest singly accredited community college. So what makes us different is that single accreditation with 18, soon to be 19 campuses, and then, of course, the associated sites. So that structure then in 2017, with the help of some of those people who are listening today, a team that rethought how we should look, they developed campus sizes, if you will, large C1s, medium C2s, and small campuses, C3s. And those are measured in a number of ways by the number of jobs in that area, the number of students they have, completions, et cetera. So that structure is still in place today. And I just have to say, that team did a fabulous job, and that structure is still working and continues to be fine-tuned a little bit along the way. Kristen, you might have some other thoughts about how we've continued to keep it relevant, but overall, it's a really nice structure.
Kristen, let's throw to you then and talk about what occurred and what we've done to look at the Indianapolis campus and its structure.
The process that the president was just talking about, when we went through the process of looking at the entire college, we intentionally decided that we would leave Indianapolis as is because we had a lot of large scale changes going on. And so in the fall, it was time to take a look again at Indianapolis. We knew that the current chancellor, Kathy Lee, was going to retire. And so this might be a good time, to take a look at the structure. And so we formed a team very similar to what we did for the statewide project, but including Indianapolis staff, faculty, leadership. And we formed three teams, one focusing on structure, one focusing on the student experience, and one focusing on workforce alignment. And we had each of those teams made up only of people from Indianapolis work together to come up with ideas on how Indianapolis might look different. So every idea came from within. And my team, our role is facilitator, right? So not providing content, but just making sure the process runs smoothly. So as an outcropping of that initiative, we formed the Hamilton County campus, which is going to be our 19th campus, and it's a C3 in the levels that the president just discussed. And we're standing that up separately so that we were able to reduce the service area size of the Indianapolis campus down to 3 counties so that it's more manageable and we can look at the structure of that moving forward. And so then in January, early January, we kicked off another project to kind of streamline the processes, work through things that we can do to make Indianapolis, now that they have a more focused service area, run more more efficiently, more smoothly, and try to help them along in that.
Very good. As a part of that, I know we stood up that Hamilton County campus. And so
We did.
we are nearing the end of the Chancellor search for that campus. And we'll talk about that probably on a future episode. But I'd love to know a little bit more about the role of Chancellor at Ivy Tech. What is that role?
It's similar to other community colleges in many ways, except here there is a president and systems office supporting all 18, soon to be 19 campuses. And the chancellor is the leader. When I think about it, and in fact, as I talk to others, I say it's really a 200% job. It is 100% external facing to the community. They are the face to employers, to elected officials, to K-12, to so many people in that community. But they're also the leader of the campus. So they have their own cabinet, which would include the academic affairs and workforce and student success and enrollment services and foundation, their development person. So they are truly the leader of that campus, operating within the college's strategic plan. Very important role. They really are the face of Ivy Tech across the state and just critical to the success, and very proud and appreciative of the chancellors that we have.
So when we've done chancellor searches before, we haven't done a podcast about it. Part of that is just I didn't think about it until we were having a conversation about this one. But there is some difference to being the chancellor at the Indianapolis campus. I'd love to dig into that just a little bit more. What is different about this role?
Let me start, and then I'm sure the others will chime in. But as we were doing the Indianapolis restructure, we really talked about this, the fact that many people see the Indianapolis campus as being the quote unquote flagship for Ivy Tech. We don't technically have a flagship, but people assume it is, just like there's a Purdue West Lafayette or an IU Bloomington. So there's an assumption there. Secondly, it is our largest campus by far. It was, before the restructure, 30% of the state of Indiana. Now it'll be 18%, but that is still a huge campus. And therefore, the saying, as Indianapolis goes, so goes Ivy Tech as the system, is true. So there's much. And I guess the other thing that I will say is it sits in our state capital. So there is all kinds of attention placed on it. And I think Chancellor Kathy Lee would agree with this. Often they're confused. Do they go to the chancellor or the president for things? Often in that campus, there's the chancellor and I have to have a really good relationship because we end up stepping on each other's toes, very not on purpose. And that's probably natural, given this is our largest campus in our capital.
Chad, is the person who directly supports that, is there something you want to add? Because I know you and I talk a lot about what's different at Indy in terms of operations as well.
Yeah, I think the operations from the standpoint of being so much larger than every other campus, that affects how the leader does the business that they do on a day-to-day basis. You couple that with being at the heart of the system itself, you do have this balancing act that I think takes place. But the size of the campus itself, as we are the workforce engine and the best opportunity for transfer and the place in which we go for sub-associate and certifications and meeting workforce needs directly where they are, just in those three phrases, you could come up with a multitude of opportunities and barriers within that service area. And I think the organization is so dependent on this leader to be able to really have a grasp of the service area, what they need, what they want. And it's unlike any other position within our system. And so that's why I think it's critical to the success. It feeds into the changes that have been made. And it's a great challenge for any prospective leader to really embrace. It's like nothing else, I think, probably in the community college system.
Well, Indianapolis on its own would be one of the largest community colleges in the country, right? It would be a great job, a great role for almost any chancellor candidate.
So if you know somebody who's interested, or if you're interested and you're listening to this podcast, how do you apply?
Well, I'll go ahead and take that one because obviously as a national search, we're really thrilled with that position being advertised all over the country. We're hoping to get a very rich, very deep, very diverse pool of candidates. There is a link. You will go to the human resources part, but there's a link embedded in the show notes. That is probably the best way as you're listening to this podcast is just to click on that link. You can go right there. Certainly any of the folks at Ivy Tech would be able to help you and assist you get to that. But that's probably the easiest way to go about starting the application process.
Excellent.
And we are serious when we say if they're interested or if they know someone or know a leader in another system somewhere else in the country or in a four-year institution that they think really has a heart for community college. This really is a great opportunity, and be assured that there's no foregone conclusion. And we will have, as we always do, our state board chair will be on that search. The Indianapolis campus chair will be on that search. A number of cabinet members, a chancellor representative. It will be a really thoroughly, and then like all, we come down to 2 or 3, and they will get vetted by the Indianapolis campus and the community.
It is a rigorous search process.
It is.
Having observed it several times, it is a rigorous search process. We mentioned that Dr. Lee is retiring, and that's part of what precipitates that. Sue, I know she's been a colleague of mine for 20 years. I'm going to miss her deeply. Anything you want to say as we prepare to bid her adieu?
Well, like you, I have grown to have such a fond relationship with her, appreciate her all in with Ivy Tech for her career and the great job that she has done on the Indianapolis campus. And it will be hard to make that transition, but just so thankful for her leadership. And I know that her team will carry forward, and we will have more good work to do together.
Absolutely. We end every episode with a call to action. And so this one is probably pretty obvious. If you know of someone who is interested in a chancellor position, a CEO position for a campus, please encourage them to apply. And when does the application process close?
Mid-February.
February 19th.
All right. So they have until February 19th to apply. Make sure that you get those applications in. We will put that link in our show notes. And if you have questions about the role, you can reach out to any of us. Chad, do you mind if we give your email address as a direct contact?
cmbolser@ivytech.edu.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks again for joining this episode of Our College, Your Voices. I want to again thank Dr. Sue Ellspermann, our president, Kristen Moreland, our senior vice president for strategy and operations, and Chad Bolser, our vice president for strategic operations for the Southern campuses. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. You can connect with me on Twitter at KNM Tweets. Our producer is Sarah Ferguson. You can reach us by email at ourcollegeyourvoices@ivytech.edu. Don't forget, if you're an Ivy Tech faculty or staff member, you can join our Microsoft Teams listener community. Instructions on that come out every Thursday. Our website, where you'll find links to our show notes, is ivytech.edu/podcast. Production assistance for this and every episode provided by Becky Campbell and the Ivy Tech Community College Creative Services team. Our podcast concept is by Matthew Pittman. Theme music and post-production services provided by Jen Eads at the Brasi Broadcasting Company. And we will talk to you next time on Our College, Your Voices.